Do you have a bunch of embossing powders laying around your studio that you've never used? Well, here's the most common one, which is clear, but I also have turquoise and opaque green, crystal green, stone, black, copper, you name it. I have a ton of them that I have never deployed. I also have these Lindy's Magicals in autumn leaves, which I have never used either. So I thought today would be a great day to do a quick and easy little project utilizing both the magicals and the embossing powders. I'm going to take a cue from Eva over at Bohemian Crafting, who utilized her embossing powders in a different way. I'm going to copycat that, but I'm also going to add in my Lindy's Magicals and do something just a tiny bit different. So stick with me and we'll get started here in just a minute. Here is a quick glimpse of what we are going to do today. These are very sturdy paper clips that are so easy to make. I am starting with the Lindy Magicals, and I have cut some 120-pound watercolor paper, not into any specific size, just enough for me to be able to come back and punch out some shapes. But let's get started with putting down those pigment powders. I'm looking quickly for a little palette knife or something that I can pull those out with, and I have found something. Let's just shake some of this red hot poker orange powder down and see what happens. I have a spray bottle full of just plain tap water. You can see it right here. I will sprinkle that on the paper and wow, look at those go. They really spread. I probably used too much the first time I used it, but we're going to work with it. So now I have two sheets with a little bit of that red hot poker orange on. Let's add in, what did I add in next? A little bit of that cattail copper brown. It just gives it some darkness. Let's see what else we have here. This is called Ponderosa Pine Olive. I love the names that have been given these. A little autumn maple crimson. We're just playing. I just want to see what these are going to do. And boy, do I have this paper wet. But I'm kind of liking what is happening. It's very random. I just use my paintbrush to tap around. And that's more of that autumn maple crimson. Just making sure that all of the white is covered. And I have now taken my blow dryer and dried this piece. And you can see there's some iridescence to that when you move the paper a little bit. It's kind of something I guess you'd have to see. But now I've pulled out just an archival black ink, and I have a set of what is called postage stamps, and I am just going to stamp away and stamp this entire sheet of colored paper up with these stamps. I'm going to do that to both sheets. Now with that done, I've pulled out my dies and I'm just laying them, I'm trying to position them so I get a little bit of color, a little bit of stamp in there, nothing nothing real contrived or real detailed or real, I'm not being overly picky, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to put those together. I'm going to take them over to my Sizzix Hot Shot and roll this through. I'm going to do it twice so I get two of each. So you can see I have coming back with two of each piece. That's going to be important because these paper clips have front and a back. Pulling out a large paper clip, making sure that I have it configured in the right direction. A little bit of Scotch tape to hold it into place while I glue it. And I am going to coat that with glitter glue and put the like shape over the top, clamp it down, and let it dry. And I will do that to each set of two. Once they are dry, I'm going to make sure they are totally connected at every point. Go around the outside edge with some of that black archival ink. And I'll do that to each one. Now it's time to pull out that embossing powder. So I have this clear, it is a large grain, large particle embossing powder, and I also have a high gloss in a small particle embossing powder. Not being an embossing powder aficionado, I don't understand the difference other than I like the way the large grain looked. So I started with the small grain on this one. And it looks fine too. I mean, they both look good. There's really no distinguishable difference in my mind, but those that use embossing powder a lot may beg to differ. That's fine. This is just me doing what I do. I'm not pretending to be an expert. We'll heat that with a heat gun until that melts. And now I'll hit it in the little stamp pad that I have is called Versa Ink, and it is a clear stamp pad. So it's not putting a color on, it's just wetting the watercolor paper with some sticky, inky residue. And now we'll do the large particle. Now I'm going to continue and I'm going to coat each and every one of these little paper clips that I've put together in that clear embossing powder. Both sides. I'm going back over in case I missed a spot. Once you heat that embossing powder and it melts and kind of spreads to cover, if you have any blank spots where you see that raw paper, you can go back over, wet it again with a stamp, put more embossing powder on, and it will remelt and spread itself just fine. So once I have all of those done, I'm coating them now, and I'm going to do more than one at a time, or I'm going to cut more than one at a time and get all of those done. But I found this blue. It is a transparent sapphire. And I thought that might be kind of cool to put over the top of one of these. So I put it all over the back. It's not as transparent as I thought it was going to be, but it still looked good. So I'm going to put just a little bit of this sapphire on each and every one of these to kind of get some continuity in all of these little paper clips. I love this sapphire color. And the different embossing powders that I have, some of them are recollections, some of them are distress, Tim Holtz Distress Embossing Glaze. Some of them are the world's greatest embossing powder. I mean, I just have all kinds of brands here that I'm pulling out, so I'm not being loyal to any one. It's just, what I have in stock. So here's a quick look at the finished pieces, a little more close up. You can see the stamping, you can see the base color and the sapphire. Now I've made these with nothing but embossing powder. So I'm going to start again and do the exact same thing. I'm going to pull out all of these embossing powders that I haven't used and take another sheet of watercolor paper, go over to my hot shot and cut out 2 of each. I will come back and glue those together just like we did before. And just to refresh, we're going to take one, lay a paper clip on it so that little loop is at the bottom. You have 2 loops, so you want the 2 loops pointed towards the bottom. And we'll tape it into place, and then we will proceed to glue it together with the glitter glue. I'm looking for my tape. Where'd it go? There's my paper clip. There's my tape. We'll pick a shape, tape it down. See where you have the 2 loops there at the bottom? That's what you want. And we'll just stick these together. Do the same thing. I'm going to clamp them up, let them dry, make sure that they are adhered perfectly. Feel free to fast forward. And now we have them all glued, all ready to go. I'm pulling out these embossing powders and I'm just going to play. So let's ink this up with some clear VersaFine, Versa ink, what do they call that? Versamark watermark stamp pad. And I started with a copper. And once I have that copper down, I'm going to come back to that one with an antique linen. What I'm doing now is just going around. I have some black paint that you can see over to my left. And instead of using the black ink pad, I just painted around the outside edge of this set just to, I don't know why, just to do something a little different. And now I am coming back with, I thought I was coming back with some antique linen, but that looks to be a little darker. So I believe, let me just pull the colors out here so I can tell you what it actually is. It's called Walnut Stain. So I came back with the Walnut Stain embossing powder on top of the copper. Now the antique linen, and I'm just going to dip it. So let's get started with another one. We'll do one more and then we will be finished. But I just wanted to show you how, you can mix and match and play. The other thing I did, if I forgot, you're pouring your embossing powders out on this paper. And there were a couple of times that I forgot to move my embossing powder back into the jar from where it came, and I poured additional color on top of it. I created just a container of the mixed embossing powders that I had done that. So I have a container that is full of just a little bit of everything. So there's that purple. That is called, let me find that one. That is, what is that called? Oh, here it is. Lilac. And I thought black would look good on that. And that is exactly what that embossing powder is called. And I smashed that into my ink pad before it had cooled. So don't do that. That was a mistake. Now I want to add just a little bit of that black onto the other one where we already have three different colors. I thought the black gives such a nice little accent. So there you have it. We have completed the two different types of embossing powder paper clips. I hope you enjoyed. If so, come over, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and love to have you here. I will say bye for now.